Hey, my friends, really glad that you're here. I want to share with you a video about how our client Terri was able to reverse her prediabetes, regain her energy, regain her positive mood, and drop 16 pounds effortlessly in just 6 months. And Terri was so fun to work with. She was diagnosed with prediabetes when the pandemic hit. As she puts it, she just ignored it some more until she couldn't ignore it any longer because she was taking care of her grandson and didn't have the energy to run around with him. And her mood, as she puts it, was bad. She was feeling more and more depressed and was looking for the advice from somebody, but just wasn't getting the type of advice that she needed from her doctor. And that's when she reached out to us, where she wanted to see blood sugar improvements, but also improvements back to feeling like herself mentally and physically. And so if you're new here and we haven't connected, my name is Isaac Pohlman. I am a registered dietitian, a fellow person with type 1 diabetes, and what we do is we help our clients improve their health and their blood sugars for good. And the way that we do that is we dig down deep into what is going on inside of your body. We are not going to give you a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter recommendation. We're not telling you to cut out carbs. We're not telling you to fast, go on keto. In fact, we're going to help you identify your body's sweet spots for things like carbs, and then uncover unique reasons behind your blood sugar imbalances, like stress, so that you can get unstuck and see improvements fast. Number 2, we're going to help you revive your metabolism with personalized nutrition and lifestyle shifts that support your blood sugar, of course, but also feeling great in the process so that you know exactly how to support your body without obsessing over every single bite of food, so that naturally there's less confusion, less overwhelm, and less feeling stuck. And then number 3, helping you to achieve carb freedom by addressing mineral imbalances, which are one of the main root causes of blood sugar issues that is so often overlooked. And so we address this once so that you can enjoy steady blood sugar for good without the guilt. And so if that sounds like what you're looking for as well, just DM me the word interest. And then from there, we can set up a one-on-one conversation to see if we're the best team to support you with your blood sugar and your health goals. And so prior to working with Terri, like I talked about before, she was just not feeling like herself. As she puts it, she was grumpy, feeling more depressed, low in energy, was experiencing high fasting and post-meal blood sugars, had a diagnosis of prediabetes with an A1C of 5.9, and wasn't getting the advice from her doctor that she needed. At that point, she was ready to see improvements, but just didn't have the information, the knowledge, the action steps to get her to that point. Because previously, she hadn't sought out any blood sugar support beyond that of her doctor. She had done some things with Weight Watchers. She was active in Tai Chi, senior yoga, outdoor walking, yard work, but was still seeing that rise in blood sugar in the morning and post-meal, and then, of course, the symptoms mentally and physically of just not feeling well. And then, of course, the symptoms related to depression and energy of just not feeling like herself. And so she was really after blood sugar specific support from an expert. And that's another thing that Terri resonated with us as well, as our practitioners have type 1 diabetes or some other blood sugar issue in the past. And so she knew that she was in good hands because of the empathy, the personal experience that our team brought to the table. And so here is what we did to help Terri inside of our Pohlman Method. Number 1, we focused in on building her stress resilience. And so across the board, we find this works so well because stress ultimately drives blood sugar imbalances, whether that's blood sugar that's coming up to the prediabetes level or low blood sugar or the combination of those. And this was so key for her because Terri was so used to putting everybody above herself first, and then if she had time, meeting her needs and doing things for herself. And so what we found was really helpful for her was finding small ways to begin putting herself first so that she could feel her best and continue to support her family, look after her grandchild without doing it at the detriment of herself and her health. And so for her, that involved slowing down, cooking meals, finding new recipes, doing little things throughout the day to lessen that stress, but also help her body become more resilient to that so that when she did have a busy or stressful day, it wasn't impacting her blood sugar to a large degree. And then number 2, we really emphasize movement in the outdoors for her, because if we look at the outdoors or sunlight, whoever comes into our program, we find this is so helpful because there's something known as the circadian rhythm. And the circadian rhythm refers to the hormone release that is dictated by the lightness outside or the darkness outside. And when this is misaligned, you're going to have more challenges with energy, blood sugar, weight loss, metabolism, and appetite. But when it is more aligned through the habits, especially like for Terri getting outside and moving more, what that helps to do is realign her circadian rhythm so those hormones are more balanced. But also, too, when you're moving more, it gives us another site of storing that glucose. So it's not just sitting in the bloodstream raising her blood sugar. And so that was really impactful. And then number 3, we really focused on getting her more balanced and dense meals. And we find across the board for clients that have blood sugar issues, they often aren't eating enough. They're eating very light meals. And that can be a byproduct of a few different things. Stress long term certainly lowers that appetite. We can often get used to that. She just wasn't feeling hungry. And that was a byproduct of course, stress, but just being used to eating very light meals most of the day. And so we slowly worked up her density, increasing density with fiber and with protein and with carbs, like bulky carbs, like potatoes and sweet potatoes and squash. And over time, that really helped to bring up her appetite in combination with lowering her body stress. And then number 4, the last thing that we worked on was rebalancing her minerals. And when we work with clients with blood sugar issues, when there's constant swings like that, they tend to be very imbalanced when it comes to their body's minerals. And minerals play a huge role in your ability to tolerate carbs, to improve your energy, to support your body's metabolism. So big areas, right? And for each client that we work with, these are all unique imbalances. Some might have deficiencies. Some might have imbalances in terms of the amounts with one mineral compared to the other. Some might have toxicities where they're really high in certain minerals, and all that can impact things like blood sugar and overall symptoms especially. And for Terri, the interesting thing, and we see this a lot in clients, is she had a high calcium level, which sometimes can be due to like high stress or taking vitamin D or calcium supplements when you really shouldn't be. But for her, we found it was more so due to her blood sugar imbalances, because when calcium gets high, it's suggestive that your body is relying on a ton of insulin. Because in order to make insulin, our body actually needs calcium. And so calcium tends to go up in one of these tests when you're super reliant on insulin to manage your blood sugar. And I want to say too that insulin is actually something that our body really needs to regulate our blood sugar. It's just the fact that if we rely on it too much to manage our blood sugar, we end up experiencing insulin resistance, which is when those blood sugars start to climb a little bit higher. So that was a key thing for her to address. The other key was she had low potassium levels, and potassium is a mineral that is crucial for not only insulin sensitivity and carb tolerance and regulating blood sugar, but also thyroid health. And when you think about thyroid health, when someone has lower metabolism, lower thyroid health, they are more prone to prediabetes, energy issues, depression, right? And so there's something called the thyroid ratio in one of these tests, which is when this ratio between calcium and potassium is quite high. And this suggests that your body is really not accepting that thyroid hormone, typically because your calcium is quite high and or your potassium is quite low, and Terri had both of those. And so those were her main trends. She also had some stress ratios that were quite high, indicating that there was significant stress on her body, which also plays a huge role in blood sugar. And so a few different areas that Terri needed to address to really support her body and her blood sugar. And so Terri really saw some amazing results after working on those different areas. She was able to reverse her prediabetes, and now her blood sugars are in range pre-meal, post-meal, without cutting out carbs. She was able to lose 16 pounds without even trying, whereas previously it felt impossible for her to even just lose a pound. She feels more energized and doesn't need coffee to keep her going. She has more of a stable mood. In her words, she is more fun to be around because her depression has lifted. And then she feels like the changes that she made to see those results were effortless. And that's the thing with foundational habits. They're very simple in practice, but yet have such a wide range impact on your body outside of just your blood sugar. And so if you're wanting to balance your blood sugar, really restore your health like Terri did, just message me the word interest, and then from there we can set up a one-on-one conversation to see if we're the best team to be able to support you with your blood sugar and your health goals.